Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 275. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday here at the end of September. And I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Scott Coleman. Scott, the season is over, and as our good friend, former guest of this podcast, put it, Brandon Gaudin, opening day is just 179 sleeps away. How are you?
There you go. Only 6 months until Braves baseball is back in our lives. And I'll say this, I don't know about you, I don't know about people listening to the show, but I usually like a little bit of a break from the Braves after 162 games plus 6 weeks of spring training, plus obviously no playoffs this year. But if you have playoffs, like you need kind of a mental just getaway from the team. At least I do. But, you know, the fact that this season went out with such a whimper, I mean, we knew by the All-Star break, it just wasn't going to happen. It is what it is. And hopefully this time in a calendar year, we are talking about the playoffs rather than kind of a somber, more, damn, it's over kind of thing. It's just, the hand the Braves were dealt this year.
That's right. And we should say, if we have a new listener, it'd be a good time for people to come on right now, right? At the end of the season, like, hey, join us. But they should. We don't go away. This is a podcast that's wrapping up this season, our final show of the in-season kind of cadence on this show. But we are going to be going strong throughout the offseason. We are Hammer Territory. Please subscribe to this podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, etc. On the audio side, we are also on YouTube. So like the video, leave a comment. And we definitely appreciate everybody checking out the show always, and especially right now as we're going into the kind of dead period. But still, there's plenty to discuss with this baseball team moving forward. Let's do one timestamp here, Scott, because it's like 8:00 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. We intentionally waited a little bit to record this podcast. Not because of the NFL. I won't make you talk about that on this podcast today. But we were waiting because, look, the game ended about 6:00, and I thought, hey, we should probably wait to see what the post-game comments are like. Perhaps for Brian Snitker, players, announcements, etc. Is it possible we could get Brian Snitker news after we record this podcast or during it? Sure it is. But we did. I've covered a lot of games and a lot of different sports, Scott. Usually if there's news coming out of a press conference or whatever, it's usually going to happen in the first 90 minutes after the game is over, and it hasn't yet. So timestamp it. That's what we know, what we don't know. What we don't know right now is anything about Brian Snitker's future. So if you're listening to this podcast tomorrow and you've heard, there'll be a show coming in this feed at some point soon, I promise, about that topic. We've been talking about it for 2 weeks or longer, honestly, almost every show, just kind of mentioning how weird this is. It's still really weird. I don't know if you have anything to add on this, but as of right now, Brian Snitker is no longer under contract. So that's what makes this whole thing, because it's so strange, all of it.
It is very strange. I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard anything. There was almost radio silence, other than a handful of Braves players were asked about Brian Snitker postgame, and they said, yes, we'd love to have Snit back. And I'm sure they feel that way.
Water is wet.
What else? What else are they going to say, right? Like, is Chris Sale going to say, yeah, let's get that son of a gun out of here? Of course not. The players like Snit. They respect Snit. It is a very odd situation that we have played out the entirety of Brian Snitker's contract, and there's been no announcement. And maybe it'll come by the time people listen to this. It could come 5 minutes after we finish recording. We will see. But it is a massive question, to put it lightly, a massive question. Now, technically, officially going into the offseason as who is going to manage the Braves come next season.
It's kind of a big deal. We'll be talking about it, but just want to lay that out there at the top of the podcast. There's other stuff to talk about. That has been a cloud, though, that's hanging over this. I was at the ballpark today, and I was joking about this, but I was like, should I bring a sign that says who is the manager tomorrow or something? Because it's like the number one. The games didn't matter by the end of the season. It's like, for me, it was the number one talking point the last week and a half. Like, what is going on with manager? And as of now, we don't have an answer. So stay tuned. Maybe during this podcast, maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. We will see. Beyond that, the Braves finished 76-86 for the season. Obviously not where they wanted to be. Their over-under was in the 90s. That speaks to where they were supposed to be. They weren't there. They did finish better than they started. I'm not sure if that's cold comfort or if that's like frustration. A normie friend of mine asked me this question the other day. Like, would you have wanted the Braves to finish strong or just be awful, basically? Is it more frustrating for them to have finished strong? I don't really have an answer. Like, it's not bad that they finished strong. They were 29-20 in the last 49 games. That's a 96 win pace, Scott. So if you want to be an optimist, the last third of the season, they were playing like they were supposed to play. What do you make of that? I'll ask you that now. Do you care at all that they finished strong? Because they did.
I don't know, Brad. I mean, I can probably make...
That's the right answer, I think, because I don't know. Yeah.
I can make a case for and against it. If this was a really young team that was kind of on an upward trajectory, then sure. Like if this was the end of the 2017 season, you and I would probably talk for 5-10 minutes about, hey, there was a legitimate excitement going above 500 over the final 50 games. They went 14-11 in September. Of course, this is not necessarily a super young team. It's a very established team. It's a team that underperformed basically up until the middle of August is kind of when they got healthier and started to win games more consistently at the level that we were hoping for them to do. And you mentioned they were 76 and 86. And they started out 0-7. So they were pretty much a 500-ish team after that week from hell. They also had they lost 7 games in a row as well. And was it June or July? Basically, if you could wave your magic wand and take out those 2 weeks from hell, the season was more in line with what kind of you would have hoped. And I think the thing that's just going to kind of bug me this entire offseason is that 83 wins got you into the playoffs as a wild card team in the National League this year. The Reds got in over a tiebreaker over the Mets. You're telling me that if things didn't go a little different, if the Braves didn't win some of those one-run games, if they didn't stay healthier in the pitching staff, I believe in my true heart of hearts, this team could have absolutely won 84 or more games. They just couldn't do it, man. I mean, we talked about them for 6 months on the show. It's how many games did they just kind of piss away? We could probably do a 4-hour episode on the worst losses of the season because there were just so many of them. And now you see kind of the ultimate effects of blowing so many games early in the year.
That's right. And we'll litigate that, I'm sure, as we go into the winter. But it is kind of frustrating that they were close enough to be within like realistic distance of the wild card, because the wild card bar was lower than it sometimes will be. The expanded playoffs is a different subject, but it does lead to the potential of getting into the playoffs with 83 wins. Like that's not you're not a very good team, quite frankly. If you win 83 games, you're not very good. But in the National League this year, that was enough to make the playoffs, and the Braves were not as good as they needed to be for that. Before we poke fun at the Mets for a second, because we'll do that, because it's small wins, right? You got to find some wins in life. This came out today. I think it was from DOB. Passed this along. The Braves set the Major League Baseball record for most players used in a season. 71 players suited up for the Braves this year.
Wow.
That's, again, the record in history. Now, all this record in particular is only a modern record. Like the way that baseball is played now is not the way it was played back in the day. So like all the top teams on this list are like in the last 5 years. Not surprising, right? But still, that's a lot of players. Also, they set franchise records for most pitchers used, 46, and most starting pitchers used, 19. Today was 19 with Charlie Morton. So obviously, we've pushed back on this a little bit over the course of the last couple of months. If you're just finding the podcast for the first time or first time in a while, at least I don't believe, I'll let you respond to this. I don't believe this is a season that was caused by injuries. Like injuries magnified some of the issues that they had. But I don't want us to get lazy and say, oh, just the injuries that the bug bit them this year. That's overstating what actually happened. But It does. A number like this does kind of speak to like, hey, in addition to everything else, they had a lot of turnover and weirdness and roster stuff and injuries along the way.
Yeah. This was a dumpster fire for a large part of the season. The injuries were pouring some gasoline on top of the already set dumpster fire.
Well said. Yeah.
And as this upcoming week, more than likely, Alex Anthopoulos will kind of do his exit interview. Brian Snitker will presumably do an exit interview of some kind. Usually the players are available. If I hear one person blame all the injuries,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I bet you $100 right now in the air. That's going to happen. I promise you it will. It's going to happen.
It was a large part because sure, if they had Spencer Schwellenbach for 30 starts this year, you can bet they would have won more games.
Sure.
If Chris Sale doesn't lay out trying to get a complete game against the Mets back in June, if he doesn't dive for that ball and break his ribs, the Braves absolutely win more games. They were quite literally anyone with a pulse was making starts for this team over the summer. Yes, it impacted them, but they also, they just stunk it up. They stunk it up. They had a couple of weeks of just absolute misery where they had long losing streaks, and that's ultimately what did this team in. It was the injuries were part of it. Nobody is denying that, but it's far more than just the injuries.
Yes. Again, the injuries magnified, and I know that if you look at certain aspects of a team, the rotation is probably the number one on that list. Like, when Bryce Elder leads the team in starts and innings, that's obviously a bad thing. And as soon as the lineup got healthy and better, the pitching just got decimated. So, we're not totally discounting the role of injuries on how bad it got at times, but that was not the reason or the main reason, even if you wanted to blame anything. All right, Scott, that's a kind of primer for what's happened. It's the season finale in some respects for us. We'll come back. We have a few takeaways from the weekend, not a full-blown deep dive into the games because, listen, guys, the games didn't particularly matter that much, but some takeaways from those games. Plus, we'll make fun of the Mets and more after a word from our partners. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick Six, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, or break out rookies to elite QBs, and unlock the upside that every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download DraftKings Pick Six app right now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick Six bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Scott. Before we dive into some Brave stuff, can we make fun of the Mets for 5 minutes or less?
Yes. And give a big shout out to the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, shouts to the Miami Marlins, who were playing hard to the end. The Marlins got a little lucky this year. They had a minus 89 run differential that was way worse than the Braves, and they finished ahead of the Braves in the standings. I wonder what kind of odds you could have gotten on Marlins finish ahead of Braves in the standings before the season. Long odds, I would have guessed for that one. But putting that to the side, look, the New York Mets collapsed. That's the only word that I could use to do it. They missed the playoffs. And look, we understand glass houses and such. The Braves were out of the playoff picture for 2 months. It was before you respond, we understand the Braves were bad. We also, at least I'm the right age to where I really, really, really do not like the New York Mets as a Braves fan. So you have to take some solace, and with I do, in the Mets imploding. They were 45-24. They're the best record in baseball at one point, Scott.
Wow.
I have one more for you. I looked this up today. They had already cooled off a lot. They were 62-44. And at that point, about 2 months ago, in late July, they had 96.8% playoff odds at Fangraphs. And they didn't make the playoffs. So it did not go well for the New York Mets, and all for the price of the second highest payroll in baseball. Shouts to you, Steve Cohen.
Yes. And I mean, just another kind of gut punch is 5 minutes after the game ended today on Sunday and the Mets were officially eliminated, Pete Alonso is opting out of his contract and just flat out said, I'm a free agent.
Yeah, he's got to. I mean, this is a different subject, but Pete Alonso had the all-time great, he signed the pillow contract with the Mets because he didn't have but good on him getting the option because he had a great season, hit the market again. Maybe still stays there, but absolutely. That was an auto opt-out, for sure.
Right. And yes, and it was expected, but also just hey, the season's over. We just blew a 97% playoff chance, and your best hitter, I guess second best hitter, is opting out. Right? That's not what you want to see if you're a Mets fan. I guess they will. Maybe the Braves and Mets can charter a plane together and go on down to Cancun for a couple of weeks because no playoffs, and I mean that's gotta. I mean, obviously this was a bad year for the Braves, but. I mean, if the Braves had a 97% playoff chance in the middle of the summer and couldn't win 84 games to beat out the Cincinnati Reds, who
83 was the bar. They didn't have to win 90 plus. Right. I actually you might have seen this question. We got a question collectively. I think it was tagged us and maybe the show too. All right, now that we know what we know, would you rather have had what happened to the Braves, where they were out of it for a long time, or would you rather bet the Mets? Like if
Oh.
if we're doing this show, and
Easy.
honestly, I like our guys at Metsed Up who are our colleagues on the network. We've done their show, they've done our show. We like those guys. At least I like those guys. With that said, if we were Metsed Up today, would you rather be in our position or their position? All said and done.
I would take the Braves situation 11 times out of 10.
I think I would too. I think I would too.
I mean, I would imagine Mets fans have probably gone through like the 5 stages over the last couple of weeks with this collapse and just not being able to win games. And I mean, it wasn't like the Reds went on a Cleveland type of run, no. Cleveland just went out of their minds to make the playoffs. The Reds didn't necessarily do that. They weren't bad down the stretch, but this was very much a Mets collapse. There was a clip of the SNY TV booth, and you could just hear the disgust in the Mets broadcast booth. And I mean, obviously, I'd be disgusted too. It was a collapse of all collapses. And I know, obviously, again, the Braves and Mets, they're both going to play 0 playoff games this year, but I would take the way the Braves season went, where I think by like the middle of the summer, we're like, you know what, man, this just isn't the year. Braves have been awesome since 2018. They have the injuries. They can't win a close game. It is what it is, versus just kind of dying on the vine very slowly.
Yeah, it's kind of a personality test, I think, maybe, but I'm with you. I would have chosen the get it out of the way early model. And yeah, you could argue like for the show, if you want to go, it would have been probably better if they had been in it all the way, just for interest purposes. Like from a content perspective, you'd probably rather be the team that's in it the whole way. But from a fandom, like mental perspective, emotional perspective, I wouldn't have wanted any part of a collapse like that. And we've seen collapses like that too. Like I'm an Atlanta sports fan. I'm familiar with collapses. There've been a lot of those in my life. But hey, the Mets. Last thing before we dive into some games, the Braves did, I believe, finish 6th best in the draft lottery tankathon palooza. That's not where they could have been. They could have probably finished realistically like 3rd or 4th had they not gotten kind of hot at the end of the season. But the impact of that is not that big. I just want to always say it out loud. Like they're 6th. We'll see in what couple months before they actually are going to be picking. We'll find out.
We'll see. It seems like the winter meetings is when the draft lottery gets selected. And yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't come on here and say, yeah, of course, you'd rather have the Braves with 2nd best odds, 3rd best odds. I think it's 6th. They technically have like a 5% chance to get the number 1 pick. But again, this does not seem like it's going to be a draft with like a mega, like a Bryce Harper type of talent at the very top who can change a franchise. This is baseball. It's the ultimate team game. This is not the NFL where a quarterback can just turn around decades of misery. It's a baseball draft. It is the most unconventional draft there is in professional sports. We'll see where the Braves ultimately end up.
Yes, we will. All right. Some observations from the weekend of games, and really more like future-facing takeaways than the actual games themselves. Well, we'll go in order. The Braves lose on Friday and Saturday. Friday, for me, the only real takeaway that I had is that it's not a huge negative one, but Joey Wentz was a really nice story for a while, right? Yeah. Joey Wentz, the Joey Wentz train flew off the tracks a little bit at the end of the year, and it was probably not discussed by us enough in the midst of everything else going on. But his first 6 starts with the Braves are really good, like ERA in the 2s. Like, hey, might have found something here. We weren't like throwing a parade, but it was like, all right, this is a cool story. Last 7 starts for Joey Wentz, 7.67 ERA in 29 and a third innings. So that doesn't mean he's useless. It doesn't mean anything like that. But if you were, I know you saw this too. If you were a Joey Wentz for the rotation truther 6 weeks ago, perhaps a harsher reality that he's probably just some organizational depth at this point. Yeah. I don't know.
I think so. I think Wentz will be maybe around in the spring. I think the Braves might have interest in keeping him around, not as a starting rotation guy to begin, but if you can stash Joey Wentz and Gwinnett, then sure, do it.
And crucially, he has no options.
Right.
So
you might be able to do like a split contract or something like that. Like there's creative ways to get him around. There's not going to be 25 teams bidding on Joey Wentz. Yep. And it is a bummer. Obviously, once upon a time, big time prospect for the Braves, never worked out since the trade. And what was that, 2018, 2019, when Atlanta sent him away. And then, it was like, okay, well, he has a 2.6 ERA through 6 starts. If he can keep this going through August and September, then maybe you found something, but quite obviously, the Braves did not. They were not as fortunate to just kind of pluck a diamond in the rough. And I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll talk about Joey Wentz getting a minor league contract sometime this winter.
Oh, sure. That would not surprise me at all. And I'm not trying to pile on. Like, I hope he does well. And he actually is a guy that I think could be in that conversation of like, eighth starter. And we do this bit all the time. We won't do it again now, but like, you got to have a lot of starters. If you get him an organization for a bargain basement price and you can kind of have him around for spring training, sure, fine with me.
Game 7, World Series tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Would you, Brad Rowland, future manager of the Braves, start Joey Wentz or would you start Bryce Elder?
Elder.
I would go Wentz. Moving on.
Maybe that was me trying to trying to lean into the bit a little bit because I've been a little harsh on Bryce at times. I think Bryce Elder is safer, and I think Joey Wentz is a higher ceiling. How about that? No,
it's fair.
It doesn't really matter. Hopefully that won't happen. But hey, World Series starts. The list of guys who make playoff starts for the Braves over the years is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, so. Dylan Lee
started the World Series,
or not Bryce Wilson. Bryce Wilson was the NLCS in the bubble year. We saw it 4 years ago.
Things get weird, man. That's just what it's just what it is. Funny question. I mentioned already they lost on Saturday. Look, this is not an exciting game. I'm gonna make this funny, Scott. We got several people tagging us and itching to hear from us on Matt Olson and Brian Snitker being ejected on Saturday. It became like a really big story. And I'm not saying it's not a story. Like, we would have mentioned it on the show, but it wasn't going to lead the show, which I think people were like, if this is a game that mattered, if we were in the playoffs or whatever, I'd understand. But guys, the game didn't mean anything. It was funny because it was Matt Olson's first ever ejection. And he's known for being really, really even keeled. And he was pissed. And I think rightfully so. But I thought it was kind of funny how much people were really getting into it. Lots of tweets and lots of articles. And I'm like, it's just an ejection on the second last day of the season in a meaningless game. Whatever. Sorry.
I think Mark Bowman of MLB.com, friend of the show, Mark Bowman.
Hi, Mark.
I think Bowman might have sent 20 tweets about this in a 24-hour period.
He was very excited about it. I don't know why, but hey, It's okay.
Yeah. Umpire. I mean, come on, guys. No one's there to watch the umpire. Olson should not have been ejected. Maybe he was really letting the umpires have it from the dugout, as he should.
Well, it was funny. Snit went out and got his. If you missed this, Snit went out and got his back. Snit got ejected. That's what Snit does. Snit's not afraid to mix it up. Olson got ejected minutes later. It was not instantly. Snit was already gone, and I think it was during the inning change. This is when Olson got ejected. So, and again, literally the first time he's ever been ejected. So that's a story in itself. It was just a weird play too. You don't usually see that. If anybody missed it, Olson got called for interference for basically just doing nothing. He finished the swing, and it wouldn't have mattered at all. But the guy dropped the pop up, so it became it doesn't matter. It's just one of those. It was a weird thing for sure. I just was I thought it was funny. Yeah,
I think you could lip read, and I think Olson said with an expletive, "What was I supposed to do?"
Which is a fair question. I agree.
Is he supposed to dead sprint to the dugout so he's out of the way? Come on, guy. Most of the time, hitters don't even know where the ball is when they foul it off.
He wouldn't know where it was. There's no way he knew where it was.
Yeah, there was a clip in a game the other night where a player doubled, and he was looking down the line to try to figure out where the ball was, and it was in the left field grass. Just silly.
Very silly. Oh, quick note on Matt Olson, who had a great season. We've covered it a lot. We'll talk about it later on. But he played every game this year. Again, he has the longest active streak in baseball of games played, 782. It's the 12th longest streak in Major League history. Just a shout out to Matt. He plays every day. The guy never misses. And unlike other guys, he doesn't get hurt either. Knock on wood. He doesn't play through stuff. Sure he does little things, but he just plays. He just plays. Yeah, every day.
You get that high in the baseball record book for anything. That's really cool.
12th in history is not a small thing. Only other thing from Saturday I want to at least get to, and you actually noted this. I'm glad you did. Strider pitched on Saturday, and he was fine. The biggest thing was that he is healthy now. He's going into the offseason healthy. Nothing else really matters to me about Strider. He pitched better at the end of the year, but the fact that he is healthy, which means he'll have a full, hopefully, knock on wood, offseason. He made comments about that going when he was asked about it after the start on Saturday, but you brought it up, but it's a great point. Like, he's healthy. That's big for everybody involved, I think.
Yes, it's huge. Hopefully no restrictions this offseason for Strider. He had a great quote after the game that was along the lines of like, I need to do a neurological reset of my upper right body.
I love him.
Me too.
Love him.
He's a freak and almost like a nerd in like the most endearing way possible about pitching. It's why I'm pretty confident that Spencer Strider is going to get this thing figured out.
Totally agree. I've been optimistic. I still am. He'll have to rework some things, but we saw that already a little bit down the stretch. We'll talk about that more later on in the offseason, but he's healthy. Good on him and good on the Braves as they head into that situation, because they want, obviously, the best version of the Braves has Spencer Strider being good, and he signed for a long time and all those things.
FT fam, Superpower believes that every human has 100-year potential, and they're going to help you get there. I like the sweatshirt, Eric Kratz, and I also love the way that Superpower takes care of its members.
Yeah. You go get your lab test, you become the best you. You be a member of this group, and your test will come back. It's unlocking things that you didn't know about yourself. This is stuff that players used all the time. You can do it now too.
Exactly, Kratz. How many of you have gone to a doctor's appointment? You get the classic, oh, you're fine, or just drink more water. No real data, no real game plan. With one simple blood draw with Superpower and over 100 biomarkers, that is way more than what you'd usually get, and it unlocks so much more about your own body. Head to superpower.com to learn more and lock in the special $199 price while it lasts. After you sign up, they'll ask you how you heard about them. Please make sure to mention the FT podcast to support the show. Your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower.
All right, Scott, let us discuss Sunday's season finale. If you don't mind, I will take a minor lead on the first part of this, because I fulfilled my promise to Braves country. I said, if Charlie Morton, number one, we said this is a week ago. This is before he was even acquired by the team. I said on this show with you that if he made a start, I would go. And I did. I won't lie to everyone. I did not stay the entire game today because I had a lot of things to do. But I stayed through Charlie's portion of the events. I was by myself, like a crazy person, walking around Truist Park by myself. But I went. And it was cool, man. Obviously, I'm in the tank for Charlie, so I will let you keep me in check on this. But I thought it was really cool. I'm cynical at heart. I'm also a softie, deep down about sports, generally speaking, especially. But Sale insisting on Morton starting the game is what happened, because if we listen to the show on Wednesday, the Braves announced the probables and it wasn't Morton, and we talked about it. And then Sale apparently went in and was like, "No, Charlie's starting. I'll come out of the bullpen," and all the things. So before I dive into any more detail, what did you think from the outside? Your Colts were playing too at the same time. You were not as dialed in as I was for obvious reasons, but what do you think about the way they handled this?
You just had to get that jab in there, Brad.
Well, I'm just explaining the context. Just the context. I didn't say about the Colts result. They were playing at the same time. That's all I said. They were.
It was really cool for Charlie Morton. And with his family on the field, they had Frank Sinatra playing My Way over the PA.
I love that so much. That was great.
And it was very Charlie Morton. It was a high wire act from the opening pitch. And at one point, I was like, oh, no, like Charlie can't give up 3 runs here in the first inning. That would be such a bummer of a way to go out. And then in the second inning, got that first out. And then, rightfully, the Braves let Charlie have his flowers. Just an all-time good guy. Probably more like Hall of Very Good. Charlie doesn't have any Hall of Fame chance the way that some of the other older players like Justin Verlander's retiring or very likely retiring. Clayton Kershaw's retiring. Like Charlie isn't in that stratosphere.
Not even I would put Charlie in the Hall of Fame conversation.
Right.
So
but he deserves to be remembered for a multiple-time World Series champion, pitched in the World Series on a broken leg, gave it everything he had. Just an all-time good dude. And, I'm glad the Braves were able to bring Charlie back in a meaningless game. Sure, if this was like last year where the Braves were playing up until the very final minute of game 162.
They wouldn't have done it. They would have done it.
Of course. But circumstances and all that aside, bring Charlie back, let him go out on top, or as on top as he can, I guess, in this scenario. It was really cool.
Yeah, and some of it had to do with he pitched with the Braves and World Series hero and the broken leg, all that stuff. Also drafted by the Braves. Like there was I think people that maybe are younger miss that added level. Like, I don't think that he would have gotten this exact treatment if he hadn't come up with the Braves organization as a young guy. Like, he might have still gotten a little bit, but it probably wouldn't have been quite the fever pitch. Like, and I thought that was a long time. It was 20 years ago. I mean, it's a long time ago that he was pitching with the Braves minor league system and making his way up. But that was part of this too. The fact that the strikeout you mentioned in the second inning came on a pretty vintage curveball, which he still has. The curveball, when it snaps, is still disgusting, even though Charlie's whatever he is, 41 years old. Yeah, cool tribute video. Charlie's such a humble guy. You know, I love the little touch that Sale came all the way to the mound, took the ball from him. Like, usually when you hand the ball off, you hand the ball to the manager, right? You don't see the reliever.
Yeah.
And Sale came all the way from the bullpen to get the ball. I thought that was really cool too, because Sale, again, was part of why he started the game, the family thing, all the stuff. So,
and
go ahead.
I was going to say, fun note. So Charlie Morton, you mentioned drafted by the Braves, came up with the Braves, was traded June 3rd, 2009. So 16 years ago. And Charlie kept going, a guy who reinvented himself. And just for funsies, here's the headline. The Braves traded Charlie Morton, Gorkys Hernandez. Do you remember Gorkys Hernandez?
I remember this trade like it was yesterday because I'm a psycho. So yes, I do remember
me too.
This.
It was my brother's birthday of all days. And Jeff Locke, who I think was a lefty pitcher. I don't remember him quite as well as Gorkys Hernandez, but alas, for Nate McLouth, who
all-star Nate McLouth.
Yeah, never quite worked out with the Braves, but yeah, to get back Charlie Morton, tip of the cap to Chuck, made himself a hell of a lot of money this last decade after he kind of reinvented himself with the Houston Astros, multiple World Series rings. It was really a cool full circle type of story.
We will stop, but that was cool. That was kind of the headliner today. Obviously, people mentioned this too. Like, it could have been the last game for Ozuna in a Braves uniform. I think it probably will be. Not definitely, but probably will be. I don't know how they're going to operate this. They could bring him back. They still like him by all accounts. But DH only. We've discussed this a number of times. We'll save it for the offseason. But it could have been his last game too. Keep that in mind as a guy who's been there for 6 years and was a big part of some stuff with the Braves. Beyond that, they won the game.
Wow.
What?
He was there 6 seasons?
6 seasons. 2020 was the debut for Marcel.
That's crazy.
Obviously, he missed like a year and a half or whatever it was in the middle, and then had the downturn of like when he was really bad. I mean, quite a up and down for Marcell Ozuna that we've covered the entire way. But man, weird. Other than that, other than like the Charlie stuff and this, Chris Sale looked good. Shocking, Chris Sale's good at baseball when he's pitching. Another guy who's healthy right now.
Also,
nice.
yeah, also healthy going into the offseason. That's massive.
Rowland and Acuña hit a home run in the first inning. That was an absolute smoke. And I was still there. The way he hits the ball, this is a very Moneyball, old school scout thing. The way the ball sounds off that man's bat, he's an alien. Rowland Acuña is an alien. I think it was 451 feet on that one. Ronald, you remember when he hit 7th? Sorry, I had to one more time in the season. He's really good. It's just breaking news. Ronald Acuña, he's good. Anything else from today that you wanted to add?
Not a thing, Brad.
The
Vegas overhit on half a mention of Ronald Acuña Jr. being a 7th place hitter. All of Vegas just erupted, knowing that it was a possibility, and we got to get it in one more time.
If he hadn't homered today, I would have left it alone. But it was. Yeah. I think his actually. I'm going to check this one more time to make sure I wasn't crazy. But I think his WRC plus was like 160 for the season. Yeah, 161 WRC plus for Ronald Acuña. Yeah. He's a star. All right, the other couple things we'll get out of here. Drake Baldwin, I think he went 0 for today, but he had a big weekend before this. And his last 2 weeks, he had quite a finishing kick for Rookie of the Year, is what I'll say. Yes. Like, he finished very strong. He had 9 extra base hits, OPS of like 1,100 the last 2 weeks. And I actually looked this up. We talked about this a little bit a few days ago with you and I on the show. And I said then I would have voted for Drake if I had a vote. I think even stronger now, and not because of the way this ended up. I actually didn't realize how big of a Fangraphs WAR, Baseball Reference WAR lead he has on Cade Horton. It's like a game or like a full win or more on both sites. I'm like, how is he not the favorite? Like, what's going on here? I don't get it.
I don't either. I'm pulling it up here live just to see what the awards are, and of course it's buried, so we'll look it up here in a minute. But
I've got it. Actually, I think they took off the board. Yeah, it's DraftKings. It is now off the board.
Yeah, that's where I was looking. So
They maybe they have to wait for something. But Drake was the underdog as of this morning. I know still. And for me, how do you feel about this? I think for a pitcher to win any award that's not just a pitcher's award, like any MVP, especially MVP, even more so MVP, but even Rookie of the Year, I feel like if you're the pitcher, you got to be like notably better for me to be than the best hitter. And I think the fact that Drake was catching as well, like Horton was good. He had a good season, but I thought it was closer than it was in my head. And I looked today and I was like, this shouldn't be particularly close. I don't think. That's just me.
And I'm fascinated to see how the voting breaks down, because I agree with everything you said. If Baldwin was a first baseman with those numbers, it's probably not very close. But the fact that he is a catcher and was just so good, both offensively, defensively, had a really nice, strong finish to the year. And, I'm curious to see, like, Cade Horton did get injured the last week of the year, and that made headlines. It might be just enough to stick in the back of a mind of a voter. Well, Horton was hurt. Maybe I dock him a little bit for that. Not a major injury, but nonetheless. And, like Cade Horton, 2.67 ERA. Fantastic. That's really, really good. But his underlying data is good, but not like out of this planet. He benefits because the Cubs might have the best 1 through 9 defense in the majors. So he benefited from that. Cade Horton's FIP was an entire run worse, 3.59. His xFIP, which balances out home runs, was 4.27. So if voters, and we don't know who the voters are, but if the voters are maybe more analytically inclined, that might hurt Horton's chances. If they get Bob the Boomer at the Cincinnati Enquirer, who looks at ERAs and wins, it might be tougher than for Drake to get the vote. We'll see how it plays out. But
Bob the Boomer is a good one. I like that one. No, one more thing too. Horton threw 118 innings, which is fine. But, one of the knocks on a catcher in particular sometimes in these awards things, they don't tend to play every day. Other than Cal Raleigh, they don't play every day.
Yeah.
And Drake only had, I think it was like 400 in the 400s in plate appearances, which is a full season. Like he played 124 games, a lot for a catcher. But normally that might be a slight demerit, but Horton only threw 118 innings. It wasn't like he was throwing every day, every fifth day for the whole season and made 32 starts. Like he made 22 starts. So cumulative value, all those things. We'll probably litigate this again when the awards stuff starts getting closer. Finalist time. I am very, very confident that Drake will be a finalist, so that'll be a discussion point when that happens. Whether he wins or not, we'll see. But I would be voting for Drake Baldwin. I'll say that one more time.
Me too. And hopefully Bob the Boomer does too.
All right, let us discuss a player that the Braves actually added to the roster on Friday. So we have not had a show since then, but it was not quite Ha-Seong Kim in terms of big names, but a legitimately pretty decently sized big name off of waivers on Friday, and it's Alek Manoah, former Blue Jays pitcher. Claim to fame is that he was an all-star and finished third in Cy Young voting in 2022. So not that long ago, 3 years ago. He was, I think, 23, 24 years old and was like a budding star. And since then, it's been all rough between injuries and struggles on the mound to the point where he was DFA'd and then put on waivers. The Braves claimed him and optioned him to the minors at the end of the season because he wasn't going to be able to pitch for the team. So I'll throw it to you. What did you make of this? Because, again, a much bigger name. The Braves have been claiming guys like it's going out of style. Like it's been crazy how many guys have added in the last month. But Manoah, short of Kim, and maybe, Fraley is a pretty big name too by the standards, but Alek Manoah was literally a third in Cy Young 3 years ago. Like this is a real talent and nothing else.
It's funny when it was announced that the Blue Jays were DFAing Alek Manoah, like everybody was like, all right, Braves are going to put a claim in. Because
Everyone knew right away.
The record for roster claims in the final month of a season goes to Alex Anthopoulos. It's been rough for Alek Manoah for a few years. Has not pitched well, had mixed results in the minor leagues this past season, did not throw a pitch in the majors. I think ended up making 10 starts in the minor leagues, was okay, started out pretty rough, but got better as it progressed. But if you're the Braves, like, why not? Why not kick the tires and see if there is anything here? If during the offseason you have to squeeze him off your 40-man roster, you can do it. No harm, no foul. If you bring him to spring training and he has a 15 ERA through 3 appearances, you release him, no harm, no foul. But it kind of feels like for Manoah, this is like maybe his last chance to kind of get things figured out. And I mean, the Braves, to their credit, have done a terrific job developing pitching over the years. Let's hope that Rick Kranitz is back with this team. If there's a new manager, regardless of the manager situation, let's hope Rick Kranitz is back and maybe the Braves can find a diamond in the rough. And if not, then no harm, no foul.
Yeah, and a few things like the year after his Cy Young worthy performance, he had a really, really bad just performance season. Like kind of had it was a national story. Like, man, what's going on with Alek Manoah, right? Then he had some injury issues. He had Tommy John in 2024. And that's part of why he didn't pitch the majors this year. Like it's a year-long recovery. He didn't throw a pitch in the minors until like mid-July. So that's kind of what happened there. Plus the Blue Jays, were in the hunt the entire way or in the playoffs. They couldn't afford to just bring it up and like try him because they had no margin for error. They were in full-on playoff mode. So they couldn't just try him in the middle of the season, in the middle of that post run. I will say, I actually know some people that cover the Blue Jays pretty well. There were some people that were surprised that he was DFA'd by the Blue Jays because, importantly, he's arbitration eligible and he has minor league options still. So that was why I was like, okay, this is not Joey Wentz, for instance, we talked about earlier, where Joey, like, it's not as easy to just keep him around. There's more of a decision. Like without Manoah, like he might be making $2 million, $2.5 million, $3 million next year and have minor league options. Like if he shows anything that they like, they might want to keep him around just because of the talent level, the age, and the flexibility. Because all of these guys, Bryce Elder doesn't have options anymore. Like guys that have minor league options, it could be a blessing and a curse for those guys, but it helps roster. And Alex is big on roster flexibility, as we've discussed a million times. Like he likes to have the ability to kind of shuffle guys around. So he might be done. We have no idea how good Manoah is going to be, but a talent like this, coming off an injury, the Braves have a knack on this kind of stuff. Like I like this move. I'm not going to tell you it's going to work. I have no idea, but zero risk, like literally zero risk. So sure, sign me up.
Why not? Maybe they can make some adjustments. Maybe they can mechanically tweak some things. Maybe they can adjust the pitch mix that he uses. Again, I mean, the Braves have done a really good job for the most part over the last handful of years, getting the most out of their healthy pitching. I think that's more than fair to say. With the healthy talent available to them, they have more times than not come out on the positive end than the opposite. So yeah, it's a no risk thing. You can move on. Why not? And if Alek Manoah gives you impactful innings in 2026, then you just kind of got it for basically free.
Yep. And that's one reason I am pretty confident that Manoah would have been claimed by someone else. The Braves are pretty high on the waiver priority. Take advantage of that while you have it. It's a rarity that they would be there. So there you go. Scott, is there anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here? Because look, the playoffs start Tuesday. We'll probably do a little bit of playoff talk because we like baseball. I'm not going to be deep diving into playoffs like we would with the Braves. But basically, it is now off-season mode for us. It doesn't mean that we're going to go dark. We're going to be very busy, particularly this week, I think, given that we're probably going to get an Alex press conference. We might get a Snit announcement any day to bring things full circle. But feel free to add anything else you'd like to. If not, we'll look forward to the winter months because it stays busy for us on the show.
I just learned that there were no hitters this year, Brad.
That's correct.
First time in a long time, only the 5th time in the divisional era, which is 1969. There was no hitters. I had no idea. Anyway, nothing to add Braves wise. Brad, this was a season with a lot of hope and optimism and the hope that we could put a devilish 2024 behind us. And it just never came together. And the first week of the year was rough and it never really got better from there. And because of that, it's just, hopefully this is just kind of a blip on the radar for the Braves. Let's hope this is just a one-off. Next year, they're back to winning 90-plus games. They're back to winning in the playoffs, which is something they have not done very much of since the World Series. It feels like kind of a critical offseason for this franchise right now. And 2026 feels like a critical on-field season because, yes, you can point to injuries this year. Yes, you could point to injuries last year. But at the end of the day, you got to win ball games. And that's something the Braves need to get back to doing. And in my heart of hearts, I think next year is going to be a much better season. But I say that fully realizing that there are some very large questions for this team in the next 6 months to address.
Absolutely. The heat is now on. I think that because they made the playoffs last year, it was a frustrating season in 2024. They made the playoffs. The heat wasn't really on. Like, it was on. Like, we wanted them to figure it out. But now, once you've had a season like this, the patience level is far lower from fans, from maybe even ownership level. We don't know how they're feeling with Terry McCurk and such. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of external pressure, probably a lot of internal pressure before you even get into the reality of the uncertainty in some spots. Obviously, Brian Snitker, number 1 on the list.
Yeah.
Ha-Seong Kim decisions on his side, on the Braves
By the
side.
way, one more note. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go
Ha-Seong
ahead.
Kim ended with a 91 WRC plus with the Braves. He was awesome, then terrible, then awesome, and then terrible.
Yep.
Weird kind of month because we're only talking about such a small sample, but I feel like the Ha-Seong Kim decision is like 50-50 at this point.
Yeah, that's a show in itself. I think he's going to be a Brave next year. How they get to that, we'll see. And by the way, that's not me saying that 100% sure. I think if you maybe choose Brave or no, I would say Brave, but not by 90%. So
Me
yeah.
too. But the path there could be interesting. Whether
the path
it's
could be very interesting. Again, Sticker's going to get the headlines, but you got Ha-Seong Kim, you got the Ozzy Albies team option, you got what are you going to do with DH/outfield? All these things, hot stove season. We'll be doing player breakdowns. We always do on the show. Free agency will be a talking point. The pitching staff is always a talking point there. How about this for a sleeper in the offseason? World Baseball Classic is this winter. It's not till like February or March, but it's coming. That's before the season starts. A lot to talk about. Winter meetings in December. Draft lottery mentioned earlier as a topic. So we will be doing shows all winter long. Probably not 4 a week like we average during the season. There'll be some weeks when it's 4, but there'll be content. Multiple times each week, we'll have podcasts. That's the plan. Stay tuned. Keep it locked here. If you're new to the podcast, it's not only Scott and I, but also Stephen Tolbert and Sean Coleman. Do a great job always with us. We mix match on occasion when we're busy and such and swap around. But please subscribe to Hammer Territory anywhere you get your podcasts. If you are an audio listener primarily, that's how I am with podcasts, to be honest. Take 2 seconds and just smash subscribe on YouTube for us. Takes 2 seconds. If you're a YouTube watcher, shouts to you. Subscribe on your favorite audio platform. If you have an iPhone, Apple, super easy to get there. Spotify, whatever, Overcast. We appreciate the support and all of that. Scott, where can folks find you all winter long with all of your brilliant musings across the sports landscape?
The hot takes will flow at Scott Coleman 55. And again, just one more big thank you to everybody for checking out the show. If you have 30 seconds, leave us a 5-star review on your podcast of choice. It really does help us out with the old algorithms and the tech lords. But yeah, we keep going, man. I mean, let's hope for a busy off season. I have a hard time thinking it's going to be a slower off season than what it was last year. Maybe that's famous last words, but let's get this team back to where we want them to be, Brad.
Let us do that. And again, in the next couple days, you almost have to get something on the manager, one way or the other. Just a comment from Alex or somebody. Plus, Alex is the usual. Of course, last year's press conference went a lot of different directions with Alex. Made a lot of news and then didn't always follow through on those things. But hey, play and discuss in the near future. So stay tuned. Thank you, Scott, for being here. As for everybody else, we appreciate you being here. Stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see everybody next time.